answers would be far too long, I think. I wrote about 40 pages for each of my 2 assignments, which I don't think is really, I don't know if it was required in the end.
Okay, and did they give you a mark allocation? Yes,
they did.
They did?
Yes, they did, but it was actually difficult to gauge. I wrote the same, I would say, for a 4-mark question as what I would have written for a 15-mark question, which I don't think that's appropriate, but it was difficult to know how to approach the questions because they were quite broad.
Okay. What we will definitely do is before you go and write exams, we will have a session on that. And I think you are not the only student struggling with that, or maybe you're not struggling with it, but it is something that you could do with a little bit of more guidance. So we'll definitely get somebody to speak to us on that topic. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Anybody else? Monique, did you not find anything challenging in this module?
The same as Melissa said, I found that as well challenging as well.
Just help me a little. If they say, can you give an example of a question and, for instance, the mark allocation that they provided? Is it what I'm trying to determine? Is it because the questions are so broad?
Yes, the questions are very broad. Like you don't really understand. Like I couldn't understand what they were actually asking. Like I had to really think about it.
Okay. Are you referring to a specific assignment?
Yes, I'm referring to I think it was assignment 2 or assignment. Yeah, assignment 2. Let me just check.
Melissa, are you also referring to the same assignment?
Yeah, I think from both assignment, I'm just trying to look at the assignment questions, both assignment 2 and assignment 3, I thought were, you know, there were 10-mark questions and then shorter questions in assignment 2, and I basically answered them much the same, you know, with much the same length.
Okay, and how did you do in those assignments?
No, I didn't do badly, but I did get comments to say I write. Let me actually read what it said. It was quite strange because the mark wasn't bad, but
Okay.
it said you write a lot of things that do not answer the question, all in capital letters. Stick to the question. It has nothing to say about the new teacher. Read and respond. But I thought that that's exactly what I did. So I still got a good mark, but yeah,
Okay.
I think I wrote too much, and according to the marker, it wasn't on topic.
Okay, and you know that is something that becomes crucial in the exam. So it's good that you're mentioning it. Monique, okay, Portia's back. Portia, forgive me, I just need another minute. Monique,
Yes.
did you do well in the assignment?
I did well. Like she said, there is comments that they give you about your answers, and
Okay.
For me, like I felt like I could have done better.
Yeah.
If I understood the questions a lot better.
Okay. I think, Portia, if we could maybe consider having a look at those assignments, even if you just choose a few questions from those assignments and just take them back there, not tonight. I mean, you can decide in which session you want to do that. But I think that's quite important because this is also about exam guidance. So would everybody be okay with that if we just go back to your 2 assignments and have a look at a few questions and maybe provide some guidance on the answering of those questions?
Yes,
can I comment though, because what we do is we have a multiple choice exam coming up.
Okay.
So it's completely, I think they're going to be 70 questions is what I read today.
Yes.
And so I don't think it makes any sense at this point for us to go through the long questions. But can I make a comment on the multiple choice assignment as well?
Yes.
I found that they expect you to quote exactly what is in the book, whereas it doesn't necessarily make sense. So if you read can I give an example?
Yeah.
If you read one of the multiple choice questions, then it says, thinking that is focused, intentional, and purposeful and aims to deepen understanding and to inform further thought and action. And the answer is reflection, but it can be actually any one of three of the answers. It's just that the book quotes it to say reflection. And I don't find that I don't find that a good way of approaching a module.
No.
I didn't feel that I was learning anything from learning or from doing the multiple choice assignments. And yeah, I kind of feel the exam might be similar.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, can I say something?
Of course.
I also found that the comments that the lecturers gave back to us didn't help me. Like she says, the points provided are not correct, but she doesn't write anything else. So how can I improve on myself if I don't know why they're wrong?
I agree with you, because marking should also provide guidance, and it's part of teaching.
Definitely. So my assignment 2 and assignment 3, I did really badly, but I don't know how to improve on myself because of the comments that they gave me.
Yes. Let me chat to Portia afterwards, after the session, because what one can do is, and I don't know what Portia's time looks like, and you are writing on the 8th of December, hey? So there's very little time left.
The 5th.
The 5th.
Sorry, the 3rd?
No, the 5th, Saturday the 5th.
5th, that's next week. Okay. Carry on with the session. I will let Portia and I have a conversation afterwards, because I do think that seeing that it's MCQs, you should be ready for the kinds of questions that you are going to get and the possibilities that you will be given as answers. So it's very important. Let's just chat about that next week. Well, when is the 5th? It is on Friday next week, is it?
Saturday.
Okay. Then I think Portia also mentioned something about an extra session. So carry on with this session. Maybe she has news on that, and then we will definitely have a conversation about MCQs before you write. Okay. So I'm first going to leave you now. Anybody else that wants to bring anything to our attention, please put it in the chat. We'll take note of that. And you can also bring it to Portia's attention during the class. But I'm going to leave you for now, and then I'm going to have a chat to Portia, and we'll let you know about focusing on a little bit of MCQs. Okay. Enjoy. Pleasure.
Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, Adele. I hope you're all well. Can you all hear me tonight? Oh. All right, I guess you can. So tonight we'll be discussing curriculum planning, as well as how to make use of the curriculum within a diverse classroom. Right, just a moment while I upload my slides, please. Thank you.
Hello.
Portia? Is it only me that can't hear you?
It's not only you.
I can also not hear Portia.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Can you hear me now, Adele?
Yes, I can. Thank you,
Can you all-
Portia.
Can you all see my slide?
No?
Not yet.
No.
Let me
No.
try again. Thank you.
Okay, Portia, we can see your slide.
All right. So you can see my slide. Is it visible, Adele?
Perfect.
All right. Let us start with learner diversity in the classroom. Students, what is your understanding of learner diversity? Remember last week we spoke about white paper. All right. And in there, it has to do with the inclusion of learners in education system. So what is your understanding of learner diversity?
Catering for learners with different strengths and weaknesses.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Anyone like to add to that?
Also, the different contexts.
Diversities.
Yes. Yes, Martinez, you may go ahead.
Also, the differences in context of learners, which they come from and come to the class with.
Yes, of course. Anyone else? Thank you. All right. If we talk about learner diversity, okay, we are all aware that we have different type of learners in our classrooms with different backgrounds. All right. And we as educators should make a positive, or let me say, we as educators and learners should value it, and we must make use of the differences we have in our classroom. So what does learner diversity actually mean? All right, can you see my slide, students? Martinez, can you see the slide?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you.
Can you put it in the slide mode?
All right, will do, Adele. That better.
No, just
Yes.
in the Yabo, there it is. Thank you.
All right. So, when we talk about learner diversity in the classroom, We are talking about the learners with their different needs or barriers to learnings, all right? As I said on my slide, it has to do with recognizing people in their unique way, all right? And when we look into classrooms nowadays, we will observe that there are learners from different socio-economic, language, different cultures, religion, racial, gender, and different type of ability groups in our classrooms. All right. Now all these learners with the different backgrounds, they come to school with different experiences. All right. And we therefore can see that we have a rich population, or a rich learner population in the classroom. All right. So why is it important for us as teachers to learn about diversity? Why do you think, students, it's important for us to learn about diversity?
So that we can help each student in their own unique way so that they can understand the work better.
Yes, thank you for that. Anyone else?
I also believe we need to learn about diversity so that we can, in our classroom activities, show respect towards diversity, encourage tolerance, and also appreciation for the learners of the diversity in the class.
Yes, correct. Because it's so important, because we sometimes overlook it, or we often we still do. We often give raise then to an early to a mis we often give raise to an early and mistaken separation. All right, that we considering bright and those considered not so intelligent. And you can see it's still happening. So it's important for us to constantly reflect on the diversity of learners in the education system. So what do you think? What will be some of the diverse learning needs of learners? We now establish that learners have different backgrounds, and we know now why we should learn about diversity. So what do you think? What are some of the diverse learning needs of learners?
Language barriers?
Learning barriers, yes. Thank you. You mentioned learning barriers. What type of learning barriers, students?
Some learners grasp more than others, and also language has also plays a role in their inability to learn at the same level as other learners.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Anyone like to add to that?
Physical learning barriers, with regards to maybe audiovisual impairments, or movement impairments.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Learners, we deal with different type of learners in our classroom, as I've already mentioned. All right. So this can be learners who have difficulty in reading and writing, like you've said, hearing impairments, visual impairments, or visual and coordination difficulty. It can be might have to do with learners' health or emotional difficulties. So it's all of that. that are some of the diversity needs learners have. So how will you respond or how will you respond to that diversity through the curriculum, students? How will you respond?
Well, I think the first thing that you will need to do is obviously know your learners well so that you can know the diversities and then adapt your teaching methods and strategies to ensure that all learners have an equal opportunity to learn.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Tamika, what do you think?
Hi, sorry, I couldn't hear the question. There's something wrong with the internet. What's the question?
All right. The question is, how will you respond? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to diversity in the classroom through the curriculum.
I would make sure that each child is respected and basically not let one feel left out, and also make sure that each child is involved in the activity, find out how each child operates, how they think, the different thinking levels, and then work according to that.
All right, thank you. Daniel Boertes, would you like to share your view on that?
Just make each learner feel important by, if you give a subject or something, to make it visual and hear so you can include all the learners in the activity.
All right, yes, thank you. So it's important for us as teachers, all right, to take up the responsibility to make sure that learners from whatever background, all right, whatever background, feel included and feel comfortable in the classroom situation. All right. We should also monitor. Should also monitor the learners' attitudes, their behaviors, and their beliefs, as well as we must also monitor our own beliefs and attitudes and behaviors when we respond to learners in the classroom. All right. So some of the ways in which we can do it is by, like some of the students said, is by treating each learner as an individual, all right? And also to respect each learner in our classroom. And we must try and avoid the use of language that is biased. We must consider different approaches and methodologies, and as well as strategies when we teach in our classroom. That is to include all the learners in our classroom. Then we must also create opportunities for all learners to participate in activities. All right. And it's very, very important that each teacher need to understand, teacher need to understand that, or how to respond to learner diversity in the classroom through the curriculum. All right. So one of the key strategies, all right, for responding, this is one of the key strategies to respond to diversity in the classroom, and that is called curriculum differentiation. All right. So what do you think of curriculum differentiation? What is your understanding? We now just spoke about including all learners in our classroom with a different backgrounds and make them feel part of the class and important in the classroom and included in all activities. So what do you think? What is curriculum differentiation? All right, let's go back to curriculum. What is your understanding of curriculum? We had it in one of our previous sessions. What is a curriculum? Anyone? Martinez, what do you think? What is a curriculum?
The curriculum, in short, is the whole learning experience as that happens in the school, which includes the knowledge, skills, and attitudes, the activities, the atmosphere, and the assessment of work that was done.
All right, thank you. Colleen, would you like to add to that?
Curriculum is what we as teachers base our planning on. It's what we get the stipulations by the education department.
Yes, thank you. And tell me, what curriculum do we follow these days?
The CAPS.
The CAPS, thank you very much. So what is your understanding then of curriculum differentiation? You now know what curriculum is, what it means. So what do you think, what is curriculum differentiation?
Hi, I'm not sure if I can be heard.
I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Okay. My understanding of curriculum differentiation is adapting the work or adapting the curriculum to suit the needs of the learners. For instance, if you have a special school or special needs school, you still follow the CAPS curriculum, but you adapt it to the chronological age as well as the mental age of the learner. So for instance, if you have 18-year-olds, you would still go for, in a subject like life skills, the things you would teach 18-year-old, but you would adapt it so that it's appropriate for someone with a mental age of, say, a grade 5 learner.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
Portia, you're muted.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry for that, students. So, let me just see. All right. So we just spoke about curriculum differentiation. So it's like the student said, curriculum differentiation, it involves processes, all right? It involves processes of whereby you modify, you adapt, and you can vary, and where you vary your teaching methodologies, your teaching strategies, your assessment strategies, and where you can verify the content of the curriculum. All right. With this, you will take into account the learner's ability levels. All right. We also take into account the interests and the backgrounds. All right. So curriculum differentiation can then be done at different levels. All right. And the way of teaching, different ways of teaching, and different teaching method, using different teaching methodologies, and you will vary the assessment and learning environment of learners. All right. So let's just look at differentiating the curriculum content. How will you differentiate the curriculum content, students? What do you think? How can one differentiate the curriculum content? All right. So why do we differentiate the content? We differentiate the content, first of all, to provide access to learning for all learners. All right. And because of all learners have different experiences, we need to include them to have success experiences at the end of the day. We also build learner confidence and self-esteem when we do that. And we also promote effective learning for all when we differentiate the content. All right. So it is important to differentiate in the curriculum the content of it. This can be done, all right, by adapting the content of the curriculum in such a way that it is manageable for all the learners in your classroom to grasp, all right? And what activities do you think will you do with differentiation in your classroom?
Group work.
Yes. Excuse me?
Group work.
Group work, yes. What else will you do?
You would be more practical with some of your things. So if you're learning about a certain topic, such as senses, you would then have more practical things instead of just a worksheet, showing the senses.
All right. Thank you, students. Now, please tell me what is curriculum content? Anyone, what do you think? What is curriculum content? Curriculum content is what we teach the learners, all right, and what we expect them to learn, what we want them to know, what we want them to understand, or be able to do. That is curriculum content, all right? So curriculum content will include things like concepts and certain skills that the learners will acquire within their learning environment, right? And sometimes teachers are able to select the content to suit the learner's needs. All right. So while I'm on that point, when you do your lesson planning, do you include all learners in your planning, or do you just aim at a specific group of learners?
All, you plan for all to include.
Yeah.
Your planning must be for all the students.
Thank you. That is why we differentiate the content. Let's continue. So, at what levels do we differentiate the content? At what levels do you think? Mine is abstractness, complexity, and variety. Is anything else you can think of where we can differentiate the content? All right. When I say abstractness, all right, it depends on the learner's level of functioning. Because the curriculum are built on facts, it's built on definitions, it's built on relationships and also key concepts. So that is why it's important, all right, that we work on the learner's level of functioning. For example, depending on the learner's level of functioning in your classroom, all right, they might access certain content at a concrete, all right, concrete or abstract level. All right. Then you also get some learners that might need to work with objects. All right. Thereby I mean objects such as counters, pencils, stones, marbles. All right. That we make use of before they are ready to work with abstract numbers. Think of mathematics. When you're in foundation phase, you make use of concrete objects, all right? And as they progress, they start to work with abstract numbers, all right? So it is then the responsibility of the teacher then to ensure that the content that you want to bring across to your learners is adapted at the level of the individual learner. All right? Because we as teachers, we cannot assume that all learners can learn easily and work on an abstract level. All right? Are you all with me on that? Are you clear on abstractness?
Yes.
All right. So the second level I identified as complexity. All right. As you know, the curriculum aspects can be complex and difficult to understand for some learners. All right. For example, if you read a story to your learners, some of them may understand different characters in the story. All right. Or some of the characters in your story will be more complex for some of the learners. All right. So here we need to actually, when we're busy with stories, we must actually contextualize topics rather than using facts of the stories. We must contextualize it for the learners, because for some of the learners, the understanding of the different characters in the story might be a more complex task for them just than relating to the plot of the story. All right. So if we move on to variety. All right. If I talk about variety, it has to do with inclusion. And inclusion requires us as teachers to expand the curriculum to cater for all learner levels. all right, for all learner levels. So to cater for that, I'm going to use an example or make an example of a child who has excellent reading skills, all right? Child might have excellent reading skills, but they might get bored of the material that you use in your classroom, all right? Because the stories or the books might not be on the child's level of functioning. So that is why you must have a variety of books, variety of reading material in your classroom, for example, to accommodate all your learners in the classroom. And when we differentiate content in the classroom, all right, we must then make use of a multi-level teaching approach. All right. With that, I mean you teach the whole class, but you teach on different levels, meaning you include the different group levels in your classroom when giving a lesson. All right. Students, can we please break for 5 minutes and be back here 20 past 6?
Yes.
Thank you.
What's happening now?
Which was a reflection. What's happening now?
Hi students, you're all back in the session. Please indicate by the show of hands. All right, thank you. Let's continue. Thank you. Now we've completed the levels. At the levels we do to differentiate content. Okay, how we differentiate content, different levels. Let's continue. All right. Let's move on to the learning environment differentiation. All right. Differentiating the learning environment. Okay. So it is important that the learning environment, all right. Student, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. All right, so it's important for us as teachers, all right, to make sure that the learning environment in which our learners work can create barriers to learning. So then it's our responsibilities as teachers to make sure that we make the learning environment, conducive to learning as possible, as conducive to learning as possible. All right. So we differentiate at the level of importance. All right. So like one of the students said earlier, we differentiate the psychological learning environment and the physical environment. All right. So let's just look at the psychological learning environment of the learners. All right. What do you think? What is the psychological learning environment of learners, students? Remember, the learning environment I'm talking about is your classroom. It is your classroom. It is a place where the learning occurs. Okay. And please remember, this does not refer only to the physical classroom, all right, but also includes the characteristics of the setting. All right. So, yes, student.
I would say the physical, psychological learning environment is the atmosphere in the classroom. Is the classroom welcoming?
Yes.
Is the teacher welcoming? That's all got to do with psychological.
All right, thank you. And what do you think the physical environment will include? Anyone? Colleen, what do you think?
How you organize your classroom with regards to the space, where they're sitting.
All right, yes, thank you. So if we talk about the psychological learning environment, all right, this it will covers the psychological and social factors, all right? It will cover the psychological and social factors that have consequences, all right? That have consequences for satisfaction for the health of the learners, the well-being of the learners, the ability of learners to perform effectively, all right? And this then will include, the cooperation of the learners, all right? Like you've said, the classroom culture, it will include that. And also, it also has to do with effective communication amongst learners and teacher to learn, all right? Now, the physical environment again, it includes factors such as classroom space. Like Colleen said, how you organize your classroom space, the classroom infrastructure, the arrangement of your furniture, all right? And then also depends on your classroom size, all right? And the resources that you have on display in your classroom. All right. So a teacher must look at these factors. All right. We as teachers must look at these factors when we try to meet the learning needs of all the learners in our classroom. All right. So how do you think? How do we differentiate the learning environment? Anyone? We spoke about the psychological learning environment and the physical environment just now. So how do we differentiate the learning environment? You just mentioned it to me earlier. How do we differentiate it? We do it by paying attention to the psychological, social, as well as the physical factors within the learning environment. All right. And then both the aspects, physical and physiological aspects, psychological aspects of the learning environment then will impact the classroom experiences. All right. So what do you think? How will we differentiate teaching methods? First, we differentiated the content. Then we differentiate the learning environment. So how will you differentiate your teaching methods?
We need to cater for the different learners, so visual learners or verbal learners. So we need to for visual learners, we need to use visual resources, and for verbal learners, use more talking.
Colleen, you're breaking up.
I just said we need to cater for the different learners, whether they're visual learners or verbal learners. And we need to use different things in our classroom to cater for their different ways of learning.
Yes, correct. Anyone else would like to add to that? Danielle, what do you think? Carla? Melissa? How will you differentiate through teaching?
And I think it's also important to take the different intelligences into account. The children who are more spatial, or those who are more musical. I think that's an interesting way of looking at children and not just focusing on those that are strong in maths or in reading. Yeah, and just giving everyone a chance to shine a little bit.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, anyone else? Tasmaya, what do you think?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Tasmaya.
Okay, this is Ahista. Sorry. I was just going to say,
Yes.
I think psychologically, learners need to have a safe place to learn. And maybe that's the most important part that we need to get right before they are comfortable enough to learn. So psychologically, they need to be looked after by the teacher.
Definitely. Thank you for that. V, what do you think? Monique, would you like to add to that?
No.
All
I'm
right.
good.
Okay. Thank you. So it's like one of the students said, we have to cater for the multiple intelligence in our classroom. And you know there's learners in the classroom with excellent logic mathematical skills, spatial skills, intrapersonal skills, verbal linguistic learners. There's different type of multiple intelligences in our classroom. So we must cater for all those learners. So when we make use of differentiating teaching methods, all right, we look at the learning materials we have in our classrooms that's available. We look at our method of presentation, the learning activities we can provide the learners with, and also how we organize our lessons. All right. So if we look at learning materials, okay, knowing that we have a diverse group of learners in our classroom, we can provide learners then with a range of materials, all right, a range of materials that caters for the different abilities in our classroom. The learners with different interests and learning styles. All right. For example, we can make use of electronic learning. All right. That's just one of the methods we can use when we talk about materials. All right. Or we can make use of e-learning, because that gives you options, all right, options to differentiate instruction, all right, but the instructions must be set up in such a way that it will meet the needs of all your learners, all right. Then we also need to be aware that some of the materials that we have in our classroom, they might need to be adapted for learners with disabilities. All right. If I can just make an example, if a learner has poor vision in your classroom, all right, you might need to print larger text for him or her to be able to read it. All right. And if you have a child or a learner in your classroom with it's a intellectual disability, all right, that learner again might benefit from the use of pictures, all right. So there you can see how we can differentiate our teaching methods in terms of making use of learning material. Now, let's just look at the methods of presentation quickly. All right. What methods of presentation will you use in your classroom, students, to include all the learners in your classroom? Remember, we need to use a wide range of teaching methods or teaching strategies, all right, to cater for the diverse needs of learners, all right? And like I've said before, we can modify the curriculum to suit the child's needs. All right. So how will you differentiate, or how will you use different methods of presentation in your classroom? Make use of different methods of presentation.
I would use topic tables and, for instance, electronic whiteboard to show them whatever topic I am busy with in a more tactile way, as well as an electronic way for those who are able to understand without having to physically see the item we are talking about.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for that. Anyone else like to share? We can present our lesson with pictures or diagrams, or we can have pictures of diagrams that's replaced by written descriptions. All right. We can also use pictures or diagrams. All right. Pictures or diagrams to be replaced with a real item or a module that you want to use in your classroom. Then you can make use of pictures or diagrams. All right. So let's just look at some of the other methods. I'm just going to name 2 other methods that you can make use of in your classroom. When it comes to methods of presentation, you can make use of scaffolding in your class, and also flexible grouping in your classroom. All right. So how will you differentiate your learning activities in your classroom? We now identified how to differentiate or make use of the learning materials and the methods of presentation. So how will you differentiate between the learning activities? Anyone?
I would, if I'm thinking of specifically a learner with intellectual disabilities compared to a learner who's grasping much faster, I would make the activities a little bit easier for that child, still in line with what I'm teaching, but just, a little easier, so that he can also have the opportunity to complete an activity, not just sit there and struggle for 20 minutes while the other learners have already completed the activities.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Like I've said earlier, we'll make use of multi-level teaching, where we teach the whole class, but we'll teach on the different levels of learners in our classroom. So that will be the same way with learning activities. All the learners will get a learning activity, but for those that have intellectual disabilities or poor vision, we will give them different work activities. All right, but it will be based on the same lesson. So how would you organize your lesson then, when making use of differentiating teaching methods? Remember, the best way for us to get through to our learners, all right, with the different needs, all right, it is to drop a lesson in a number of different ways, all right, meaning that we need to differentiate the manner in which the activities are planned and organized in a lesson. All right. So that is how you will organize your lesson in terms of differentiating teaching methods. All right. And with structuring your lesson plan or your lesson, you must definitely take into consideration, like I've said earlier, the different type of multiple intelligences in your classroom. Are we all clear on this slide? Anyone unsure or unclear on this slide? Any question on this slide? All right. Thank you. So that is the end of this area. So it is important for us to be responsive, all right, to these needs of learners, all right, with barriers to learning, to provide the necessary support to them to experience barriers to learning. All right. Thank you very much. Just give me a moment while I upload the next slide, and that will be on curriculum planning. All right. Colleen, can you see my slide?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So curriculum planning. All right. Remember, I spoke to you last week on a previous session about the different curriculums we had over the years. We started with a C2005 curriculum, then we moved over to the revised national curriculum statement, and that was short-lived, as I've mentioned it last time, and we moved over to the national curriculum statement, and today we're using the CAPS curriculum. All right. And the difference between the NCS and the CAPS is previously we had learning areas and learning programs, and that is now called subjects. We had outcomes assessment in the past, and that is removed, and it's now called or introduced as topics and themes. Right? And the curriculum statement and learning program guidelines, that's replaced by the CAPS document we have now, the curriculum statement policy, the curriculum, all right, the CAPS document. So what is a curriculum? Let's look at what is
It's content based.
Portia, you muted.
Oh, so sorry for that, students. All right, curriculum planning. Let's look at curriculum planning. What is curriculum planning? Anyone? And when do we plan a curriculum? Who plans the curriculum? As we know it, curriculum planning is important, all right? And it's important to understand the learners and the learning needs of the learners when we plan a curriculum, all right? So the learners and the learners' needs should in actual fact be the focal point of the planning process as well as the assessment process then. All right. So therefore we can say that the curriculum planning, all right, is important, all right, to the learner's learning growth, all right, and learning growth. The learning growth, it's not only about their scholastic performance, but it also has to do with the learner's development with regards to their physical, psychological well-being. All right. Now we're using the CAPS document. All right. So now the planning process. The planning process is concerned with making decisions about what to learn. The CAPS tells us that what to teach the learners. All right. Then we know, of course, why we teach it to the learners and how will we organize to teach. How will we organize the teaching and learning process? All right. So now we have to take into account the existing curriculum requirements, all right, and the resources that's available to us in order for us to plan a curriculum. All right. So the teachers will decide on the teaching and learning, all right? The teachers decide on the goals and the emphasis determining the curriculum content, all right? And we as teachers are the ones to select the learning resources and in our classroom. And we must also evaluate and monitor the process, all right? And then we must also look forward to the next step. All right. So curriculum planning normally starts at the beginning of the year, or before the year starts, the school year starts. And the school management team is responsible, all right, to check and to ensure that every teacher is on track with their planning, because you can't start the school year without planning. All right. And this can be grade planning, department planning, or school planning. All right. That I'm talking about. All right. You still with me, students? You still with me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Good. So planning then involves determining the goals and expectations you have for the year or for the learning program or the curriculum or your lesson planning for the term. Okay, you will choose the content area and you will do research on it, you as a teacher. All right, you will review any current curriculums because we're now busy with the CAPS curriculum, so you will consult the CAPS curriculum, all right, or the latest learning programs you might have at your school, all right, enable for you to plan the next curriculum or the learning program. So okay, let's just look at the steps in planning a curriculum. All right, when we plan a curriculum, there's 6 steps to keep in mind. All right, as you have to determine your goals, expectations, and your vision for the curriculum. All right, or for your lesson plan, or for the learning program. You must outline what you would like to cover. All right. You must then review any current curriculum or learning program. Fourthly, you have to organize your information and set timelines. It's very important when planning a curriculum, planning a learning program or your lesson plan, that you have to organize your time. All right. So it says organize your information and set a timeline. You must then establish a curriculum or a program of assessment procedures, how to go about it. And then you will implement the program or the curriculum. All right. And after that, when you're done with it, you will reflect on it to see if you need to make any changes or if it can stay as is. So that will bring me to, so now that we know what the curriculum is, how to plan a curriculum, or who is all involved in curriculum planning, we can now move over to the curriculum cycle. All right. Now that the curriculum planning is done in a school context, all right, we are going to look at the planning for whole school and teacher planning, all right, when we apply the curriculum cycle in the classroom. Okay, so a curriculum cycle is a model, all right, that is formed or developed, all right, from monitoring and evaluating the previous cycle, all right, or the previous curriculum, all right. So we can use this cycle then to manage and to monitor the different levels of the curriculum and the measuring aspects of it, of effective curriculum delivery, all right, including your teaching and learning and your learning assessments. All right, so a curriculum cycle is a model that is developed from monitoring and evaluating the previous or the curriculum cycle. All right, we make use of this cycle to assess the quality of teaching and learning and the quality of the learning assessment as well. Okay, so curriculum cycle is used in schools and educational institutions. All right, let's continue. So there's the curriculum cycle. Like I've mentioned before, you must have a goal in mind or focus, all right? Then next you have to plan to do your planning and development of the curriculum or of your learning program. Then you must implement it to see if it's working. After a while, after a year, after a few months, or after a term, you will evaluate and moderate it. Okay? You will report your findings on it, and then, of course, you will reflect on what went right, what went wrong, if you need to make changes to it. All right. So now I'm going to show you how the curriculum cycle works in school context. All right. If we look at the curriculum cycle in school context, it involves the educator or the teacher. It involves the subject area, the grade or the phase, and of course, the school as a whole. Right. So here's just to show you the difference in the curriculum cycle of a school or a teacher's curriculum cycle. All right. If you look at the elements, there are 6 elements. All right. It's the goal or the focus you have in mind, planning and development, implementation of it, evaluation and moderation, reporting and reflection. So if we look at the school as a whole, when we make use of the curriculum cycle or we plan a curriculum cycle, the goal of the school is to focus on the school itself, okay? For example, it will be to improve the literacy and math results and the setting of targets. All right. That is in terms of school. From a teacher's point of view again, the goal and the focus of the lesson. We focus on the lesson here. Okay. And we also focus on the goals of the class and the learners. Right? Now, when we look at the planning, if we look at the school with regards to planning, the planning is for the school, all right? The school will review all the necessary policy documents, all right? Using the national policy document, including the CAPS document, the assessment policies, and all of the different policies they will take into consideration, all right? The school will also then identify the promotion and progression requirements for learners when they're in the planning and developmental phase of the curriculum cycle, all right? It will also include staffing, timetables, resources available, the class sizes, and the work that's allocated to the different teachers. Now, if we look at this planning and development in terms of an educator or a teacher, we will then look at the planning of the lessons, all right? That it is in line with the CAPS document. All right. We will also take in to consideration the type of learners we have in our classrooms, the time that's allocated to the different subjects, the resources we have in our classroom. And you will definitely look at your teaching methodologies and assessment methods as well. All right. Is there any questions, students, or may I proceed? Colleen, you clear?
All good, thanks.
All right. Thank you. Let's continue. Let's look at the implementation of it quickly in terms of schools aspect. Okay. The school will look at the different methodologies they can make use of, the assessment criteria they can use for promotion and progression. All right. They will look at the barriers to learning, look at the inclusion of learners. They will collect data to see if they can implement all these aspects. If they look at the methodology of teachers, the barriers to learning, the knowledge of skills, and the use of the resources. Now, if you look at it from an educator's point of view, all right, we will look at things such as how to carry out lessons and assessments. All right. We will make use of the resources in the classroom that we have. All right. We will also carry out the CAPS requirements in our classroom. Very important. And we will mark tests and assignments when we implement the curriculum. So let's look at evaluation and moderation of it from a school's aspect quickly. We will record and do reporting of what worked in the curriculum and what did not. We will also do internal moderation. All right. We will definitely do everything in line with the CAPS requirements. All right. And we will, as a school, we will support the learners with the different needs or barriers to learning. If you look at the evaluation and moderation from a teacher's perspective, all right, the teacher will record class assignments and the class marks and the results of assessments and will also support the learners. Now we get to reporting. The school will compare the results of the learners, all right, to the original goal or the focus they had in mind, all right, to see if it was successful or not. The teacher, on the other hand, the teacher will then compare the results to the original goal he or she had in mind, all right, to that of the class and the individual learners, all right. Then lastly, the school and the teacher will reflect. The school will reflect on it, making decisions with regards to change or upskilling or development or training of the teachers. All right. And the teacher, on the other hand, will make decisions with regards to lesson planning, revision, and assessments. There, when the teacher do reflection, he or she will now have an idea whether or not they have to change their teaching strategies or teaching methodologies. All right. That's why we must, when we want to plan a curriculum, we must always have a goal, identify a goal or focus point. We must do planning and development of it. We must implement the curriculum. We must evaluate and moderate it. Then we must report our findings on it and do reflection of it at the end. Right? So let's continue. You're all clear on this slide, students. Is there any questions for me?
Yes, Portia.
Yes, I'm
Can
listening.
you please minimize this skills in exam preparation on the bottom of your page, just so we can see all the information from the last two?
All right. I think, let me just see quickly. No. Can you see it now?
Yeah, better. So it says goals comparing results, focus, class, and individual, is it learners? And then the one below that it says decide on changing.
Decides on changing your lesson planning and revision. Yeah, revision of assessment.
Revision of assessment.
Revision or assessment.
Or assessment. Okay, thank you.
Right. Let's continue. So this is what it will look in the classroom from a teacher's point of view. All right. This is just an example of how a teacher could apply the curriculum cycle in the classroom. So in the classroom, the teacher will also focus on a specific goal. All right. The teacher will set his or her goals, all right, of what he or she wants to achieve for a lesson. For example, teaching the learners how to count to 5. All right, that is the goal or the focus in mind. Then secondly, the planning and development of it. The teacher plans the best way, all right, to achieve his or her given resources, the learners. You will choose the best way how to make use of your time in the classroom, and how to make use of your knowledge and teaching methodologies. All right, that is all included in your planning and development. And when you implement that in your classroom, all right, when you implement this curriculum cycle in your classroom, you as a teacher will teach a lesson, okay? And while you're busy in the classroom, you will constantly observe the learners. By that, I mean you will assess the learners. You will assess them on how they are doing. Do they understand what you're doing, or what you're asking or saying or explaining to them? You can quickly see whether or not they are paying attention, okay, or if they're interested in your lesson. Then we move on to evaluation and moderation of it. All right. You as a teacher, while you're busy with the lesson, or at the end of the lesson, you will give your learners a worksheet, all right, one activity to do, okay? And And for example, most of them will not be able to do it. Okay, the internal moderation then will indicate that it is of a satisfactory level or not. All right, so that is the internal moderation. Then when you do your reporting as a teacher, okay, you will indicate whether or not you have achieved your goal or not. You have achieved your goal, but remember, your goal should not be adjusted, all right? Because it is still important, but your methods of teaching, of bringing the across to the learners should change. All right. So you will find, for example, you will find another way of teaching learners how to count to 5 then. Use a different strategy. All right. That is when you do reporting on it. And when you reflect on your lesson, okay, you look at different methods of teaching, all right, and concepts. Right. Are you all clear on this slide, students?
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you. Right. With that note, I just want to say thank you. Remember, effective and efficient planning leads to desirable positive outcomes. All right. Thank you, students. So you all clear on what we did tonight, or is there any questions for me at this stage?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Is it possible to review the other classes that you recorded?
Yes, I'll speak to Adele and ask her to send on the slides, the presentations.
Yes,
Will
thank
that
you,
do?
ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Good evening.
Good
Will we
evening.
be able to find the recordings the same way we found the other class recordings?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Adele. All right. Students, before we leave, we still need to cover assessment, differentiation, and you'd like me to go through your question papers. All right. Tell me, will it be a good time for us to meet on Sunday or Monday evening? Sunday morning or Monday evening? When will be a good time for you? By the show of hands, please. Is that now for, let's do Sunday first. Who can all make it for Sunday?
Ma'am, what time for Sunday?
All right. Can we make it 9 o'clock Sunday morning?
Is it this Sunday?
Yes. Who can make it for this Sunday? There's only 3, 4. Who can make it for the Monday evening? Can we do it the Monday evening at 5:30? All right. It seems to me like we're going to have our extra class on Monday evening. All right. Thank you, students.
Portia?
Yes.
If we make it for Monday, can we please make it at 6?
6?
Please.
I don't have a problem with that. Anyone else? Can you make, the rest of you, can you make it for 6 by the show of hands, please, for Monday? All right. All right. Akila, can we do it Monday at 6? Alicia? Okay. Colleen, can you make it at 6 o'clock on Monday? All right. Thank you. Then we can do it 6 o'clock Monday evening, but we back normal time on Thursday. All right. Okay. Tell me, would you like me to go through the question papers with you? Question 2 and question 2 and question 3? Assignment 2 and 3?
Yes.
I was thinking multiple choice questions rather.
Multiple choice. All right. Anyone else? You all in favor of doing multiple choice questions?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
it would be the same because the exam is only multiple choice.
All right. Thank you, Monique. You want to add to that?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Your hands up. Shiham, your hands up. Do you have a question for me?
No, I'm fine with the MCQ for Monday.
All right. Thank you. Melissa? All right. Then students, before we leave, please enter your student numbers in the chat function. All right. On that note, I'd like to say thank you to all of you who attended this session and have a good night. See you Monday evening at 6 and Thursday we're back normal time. Thank you.
Thanks, Portia.
Pleasure.
I have the BTE exam paper for 2019.
All right. You can forward that to me, please, Danae.
Okay, because the question 1 is there's 10 multiple choice, but then it jumps over into like longer questions.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Is that the only question paper you have?
That is the only one I have from BTE, yes. It's the October-November exam.
Sorry,
please
Danae.
forward to me.
Yes.
Sorry, Portia.
Right.
The students are quite anxious about the MCQs. Did they say that your paper now is going to be only MCQs?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I can just have a look again.
No. I think any other student who wants to respond? Is it only going to be MCQs?
Yes, ma'am. We received an email saying it's only going to be MCQ and only 70 questions per student. But since we're writing at different times, each group will receive a different set of 70 questions.
Yes. Portia, we must just also speak about, and if I forget, please remind me in that session about challenges that other students experienced with papers that were only MCQs, writing it in groups, and when they download the question paper and they go back in to answer the questions were different. So we just need to be very mindful of that. And I'm going to get what the right thing is to do, and whether when they have an MCQ paper, whether they do not want you to go out. So how long is the paper for? The time duration?
It's 2.5 hours, and we've been told that once you go in, you cannot go out. You have to complete it and then log off after you're done.
Yes, and that is where the problem comes in. So we just need to speak about that as well. And also when you do it in different groups, when people think they phone a fellow student and say, I'm struggling with this question, I can't see the options it's giving me, but that person has a different question paper, and then you think you're in the wrong paper and stuff like that. Please remind me that we talk about that. Okay, So
All
for
right.
at this point, I would just like to say one thing, and I think people who have written MCQ papers already know this, that for MCQs, you need to be better prepared than for written responses. So guys, you need to get in there and study. Okay, but we'll definitely look at that question paper and your assignments. We have to look at the assignments. You need to, when you now study, take into consideration 2019's question paper and all your assignments. I get a lot of feedback that many times the assignment questions get covered in the question paper. Not all of them, but you can capitalize on that at least. Okay. Thank you, Portia. See you on Monday.
Thank you, Adele.
Thank you, Portia.
Pleasure.
Portia, if
Yes.
we look at the assignments, like Adele just said, will that be for Sunday?
No, we're going to
Or
do
Monday?
it on Monday.
Sorry,
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
So,
Monday
okay,
at 6.
just so that I can prepare. Okay, all good. Thank you. And then will we look at both assignment 1, 2, and 3?
Is it 2 and 3, or is it all 3 assignments that's multiple choice?
Assignment 1 is only multiple choice. Assignment 2 does not have multiple choice. It is like longer questions.
All right.
And then assignment 3 is all long questions, like 10 marks each question.
Be prepared for all 3 assignments, please.
Okay. All
right.
Good. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Danae, please CC me on the question paper.
Okay, I will do. Portia, do you have the assignment or no?
No, not. Please forward it to me as well.
Okay. Do you want my answer sheet? I can't send you assignment 3. I didn't do well, but 1 and 2, I did quite well in it. If you want those.
Sorry, I do have the assignments. I just don't have the question papers. All right.
Okay. I can send you the 1 question paper that I do have, and then I'll CC Adele in. That's fine.
All right. Please do, Adele.
Does anybody have a 2018 question paper? Or a June question paper? No, this is a year module, eh?
We haven't received the question papers for the module at all. I haven't seen any previous question papers for this module.
Yeah, I downloaded it in the beginning of the year because then all of the papers were still available. They took it off mid-year.
All right. What I'll do is, if your student number is in the chat, because there are still students who haven't added their student numbers, I'm going to send you the presentations that I will get from Portia, and then I will add the question paper because it's important for you to have a look at a question paper. Danae, you don't mind, eh? Okay, no, she doesn't mind. She's quiet. Okay.
Sorry, I was busy typing the email. No, I don't mind at all.
Thank you. All right. See you on Monday.
Adele, sorry, last question. The PowerPoints you about to send us, is those the PowerPoints that's been the classes we've already attended, or is this the PowerPoint for the upcoming class? Not Monday's one, because I understand that is
those that you have attended.
Okay. Is it possible for next Thursday's class that you can send that presentation up front? Because I understand
why you're asking.
writer.
Okay, yes, I do understand why you're asking it. Portia, what do you think? Will you have it ready before Thursday?
Yes, I can do that, Adele.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Portia. Even if you send it right before the class, that's also fine. Just so that I don't have to, I don't know if that rest rewrites, need to rewrite every slide.
All right, we'll do it.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, ma'am. I have one more question. I took the preparation online test for the exam, and at the end they say you can submit your answers for marks. In our exam, are we also going to be able to see how much we scored immediately, or do we also have to wait until next year, January?
No, I think you're going to have to wait. Danae, anybody else hasn't had an experience on if they give you your results immediately? No, I don't. I doubt it because it's an exam.
No, well, I haven't written an MCQ like we are going to write now, because this is the one that goes through my exam and not the one that goes through my UNISA. So it will be a new experience for myself as well.
Okay, but I doubt it. I doubt
I've written a MCQ through my exams. It was a randomized one, so each person logging in would get different questions. And then at the end, it just says save and submit. It's not like the practice exam where it says save and submit for marking. It just says save and submit. And then you still get the email saying that you submitted your exam and whatnot. But on my UNISA side, it wouldn't say file received like you would normally have the ones that you download and upload again. But yeah, you're going to have to wait for the marks until it's released later on.
Yep. I thought so. Yeah, I think that's correct. You see, Danae, I'm still busy with your case, but there's hope.
Is there? I've given up because I've spoken to both the lecturers and both have made it very clear that there's no way for them to have a look whether they found my exam or not, because there's so many students. So
No.
I'm busy preparing.
What I mean is, if you listen to what the student just said, is sometimes with an exam, it doesn't always tell you that you have submitted it and thank you and what. Did other people also experience that?
Sorry, I got cut off. Can you just give a quick summary of what got said?
Is it you that just spoke before? I spoke to Danae about the previous exam you wrote, and then when you submitted it, what was the response you got?
No, that wasn't me. That's the point that I got cut off.
Okay.
It was me. You just get a little note that says that here's your reference number, and then once you've saved and submitted, go to your My Life email. So then the same little note that you see that gives you a reference number to say that you've submitted gets sent to your email as well. But there's no thank you file submitted thing coming up.
Yeah, you see. Danae, did you not get an email?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I didn't get an email, and I also didn't get, it wasn't shown afterwards like successfully submitted or whatever. It wasn't said, didn't say anything.
Okay. All right.
So, yes.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I have a question for Danae. Did you submit it through the My UNISA, or did you submit it through one of those extra links that the lecturer sent? Because I have seen a lot of the other students that submit through one of those links. They got it, like none of them got the emails that would say, thank you, it's submitted. But then like maybe a week or two later, they would get the emails, because I think the links are taking very, very long to recognize that you've submitted anything.
It's funny you should ask, because that's literally what the lecturers also said to me. But no, I submitted it through the My UNISA one, the one that they showed we all should follow, the first preference. That's how I submitted it, and that's how I submitted my other exams. And I got the email and everything back from my other exams, but not those two exams. And the lecturers also got so confused, and I said it multiple times that I submitted it through those links, or through the UNISA link and not through the additional links they sent afterwards. But it seems to be confusing because there's so many links to submit your answers. Sorry,
Okay.
it's just a very touchy subject.
Yes, okay. No, we won't go into it, Anne. But those of you who were prepared to come to the class on Sunday, you put your assignments in your handbag if you go to church, and maybe it gets blessed, and you never know what can happen, eh?
Adele, the class is Monday.
I know, but those who wanted to come on Sunday.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Enjoy your evening, and I will send through the documentation.
Thank you so much.